So now that we're storing data in the database, we of course also should make sure that we're loading data from the database when the app starts. And for that, I'll add a new method to the user places notifier. I'll name it load places, though the name of course is up to you. And in there, I also want to reach out to the database, but then I don't want to insert a place, but instead get my places from there. Now, therefore, we again need to open the database as we did it here. And of course, I don't just want to copy and use that same code again. So therefore, I will instead cut that code from add place and add it here outside of the user places notifier in that file. But not like this, but instead wrapped into a function that can be used, a function that will return a future, which will eventually yield a database. And I'll name it getDatabase or underscore getDatabase to be precise, so that it's only usable inside of this file. And in there, I'll paste in that code, and in the end here, return that database that I'm getting here. So in the end, I'm returning DB. And here we should add async so that we can use await. With that, I'm returning this database in this utility function. And now we can use getDatabase here in add place to get the DB here for awaiting here when we call getDatabase. But we can now also get the database here in load places. So we're now reusing this functionality. And here we of course also must add async for that. So with that, we're reusing this logic here. And now in load places, I want to use this DB object and simply call query, which is a method that queries a database table and gets the data from there. And here we must pass in the database table name, user places, as specified here. And you could now actually also specify some conditions. You could, for example, add a where parameter, which wants a string where you could specify some where clause in case you got some SQL knowledge. But here I want to get all the places, and that's exactly what query will do. It will query and get all the places, and it will therefore then actually return a future, which then yields a list of maps. And this will simply be a list of database rows, and every map will represent one row in that database. So therefore here, I'll get my data by awaiting DB query, and I now want to convert that data to a format that better suits my needs. For that, on that data list, which it is as mentioned, I'll call map to convert every list item to a different item. And then you learned that here we have to pass a function to map, which automatically receives that list item, which in this case represents a row in that database. So I'll name it row because this name here is up to you. And then in here in this function, I want to return the converted value. And we can also use this shorter syntax with this arrow notation here. Now I want to convert every row in this database to a place object using my own place class. And of course that place then must be populated with the title, the image, and so on. Now that title can be extracted from the row by accessing the title key. Keep in mind that row will be a map where in the end the keys will simply be the names of the columns in the database. And there, of course, we have that title column. So that's what I'm accessing here. Now here I then also need to tell Dart which kind of value this will be. And I can do this by adding the as keyword, which you also saw earlier in the course already, which I can use to explicitly assign, or to be precise, overwrite a type that would otherwise be used. And here this will be of type string. For the image, I'll access row image, but that would be wrong because here I actually want to get a file. Image wants a file, so we should create one by using the built-in file class, which is available if you add the start.io import. And then we can create a new file based on a path, which is convenient. So we can pass row image to file, because this image here in the database will hold the path of the image. And here we also must add as string to ensure Dart that this will be a string. And for the location, we want to create a new place location here, like this. And of course, in that place location, we now also must set latitude, longitude, and the address. And the latitude is now row lat as double. The longitude is row lng as double, using all those column names. And address, of course, is row address as string. And this now creates this new place object. Now there's one problem with that, and that's the ID. I did store the ID in the database, but place actually always creates a new unique ID. And that's generally good to have, but of course I do want to have the option of setting an ID manually. I do want to accept an ID parameter here, but now this clashes with this automatic ID generation here. So what I want to do here is I want to accept this ID parameter, but I'll not automatically assign it to this property. Instead, I accept it here, and then here I'll set ID equal to either the ID I got here, or if that's null, with that special double question mark operator, I'll set it to the auto-generated ID. That allows me to override this automatically generated ID if I want to, but it's still the default behavior to get one. And with that here, when loading the place from the database, I can now also set the ID here and set that to row ID, like this. And actually here we should make it clear that this will be of type string or null, of course, because it may not be set, it's not required. And hence here we should also add as string. So that now transforms all the data. This transformed data should be stored in a variable called places. And I'll also call toList here to convert this iterable to a list. And then load places should set the state of this notifier class here, in which we still are, equal to this loaded list of places. And now with that done, we can go back to the places start file in the screens folder. And here I actually only want to show this places list widget if we're done fetching the places from our database. Even if that should lead to an empty list, I still only want to show this places list here if we are done fetching the data. And this could be achieved with help of a future builder here, a widget which I also mentioned in the previous lectures.